Okay, and we are live. Welcome back, everyone, to workshop number 7 for the AEZ Boost Hackathon, the first global hackathon specifically dedicated to the Cosmos Hub and Atom Economic Zone. If you have joined us on the previous 6 workshops, you know the deal by now. Our goal is to present a series of developer workshops that are of value to the Cosmos Hub community and participants of this hackathon, and then just the general audience who might have questions or are interested in some of the topics we're presenting on. And if this is your first workshop you've joined, welcome. We have a very special guest today, so very lucky for everyone who's in the live audience. We're joined today by Mayr, who is the founder of Vistara, which is a very cool roll-up as a service solution that you can utilize to deploy lightning-fast IBC-enabled roll-apps with a single click. More than that, he is chain agnostic, SDK and VM agnostic RAS solution interface as well. But he specifically can use his technology to enable rapid deployment of CosmWasm and IBC enabled rollups. So today is going to be a demo presented by Mayr. He's going to share a little bit about his protocol as well and how it's relevant to both the Cosmos community at large, but also developers who are participating in this hackathon. I can specifically see this being quite valuable to any developers who are interested in the consumer chain track and interested in building out your own production app chain for this hackathon, but maybe you're a little bit wary about the infrastructure side of things and really you just want to focus on building an application. Using Vistara could be very helpful and speed up your development time, given the time constraints of the hackathon anyway. So that's just kind of a brief overview of the workshop. Mayr is going to go into it more in depth in a few minutes here. But before that, I'd just like to take one last time to thank everyone for joining. If you're watching this live, please feel free to ask any questions in the chat. I'll make sure Mayr sees them and answers them directly. You can type them in the chat. You can DM me directly on Telegram. My handle's @BrianDora. You can also find DoraHacks on Telegram. The handle is @DoraHacksOfficial. And of course on Twitter as well. You can find DoraHacks in Discord. Basically anywhere you feel comfortable asking a question, please don't hesitate to do so. I'll make sure it gets answered on this workshop here today. And if you're watching asynchronously, same thing. We'll definitely try to get back to you with any answers to any questions you have. So thank you all for being here. And thank Mayr for joining us today on this workshop. We're very excited to have you. And with that being said, I guess let's turn it over to you. Maybe you want to give just a brief intro about yourself, about Vistara, and then we can dive in.
Yeah, thanks, Brian, for all the kind words. So hi, everyone. My name is Mayr Chougule. I have been working as a software machine learning distributed systems engineer for like last 10 years of my life. But since beginning of this year, I started working on this project called Vistara, which is supposed to help you build rollups or app chains, and then eventually in the future run any types of nodes. So I could also give a quick sneak peek of our CLI that we are building that is going to allow you to kind of create or deploy any type of node. So if you wanted to be a validator, for example, in that case, that you could be doing very easily without any DevOps experience. So let me share my screen and we can start. Okay, I think we can see the screen, right? Okay, cool. So it's going to be a short talk, but I would love it to be interactive. I don't see anyone else in the audience, so if there is any question, Brian will send it back to me, and I'll try my best to answer them. Yeah, so we're going to talk about rollups first. We'll introduce a little bit of what Vistara does and how it can help, and we'll jump into the demo and then do the questions. So Vistara is aiming to be a cloud operating system for distributed systems of modular components. So I'm assuming many people here are familiar with the difference between monolithic and modular blockchains. So the main high level components of modular blockchain, monolithic or blockchains are execution, settlement, and data availability layer. Obviously, there is more that goes into it, but those are like the high level components. So I'll just walk through it quickly and see and talk through it. And so in monolithic blockchains, really is that all these components of execution, settlement, and data availability layer sits on a single virtual machine, single big machine that where execution can be EVM based chain or Solana based chain or Cosmos based chain, right? So, but on the same machine, there is a settlement that happens either fraud proof or pessimistic roll or ZK proofs. And then data availability layer can also be there to make sure that the data is published and always available. So those are like the high level components, what you would use when you're using like Cosmos SDK, for example, for creating the state machine and your own app chain. So in context of modular blockchains, we take these high level components and we split them into smaller parts, which is similar to like monolithic versus microservices architecture, where it's easy to start a monolithic application and then it involves less overhead and it's very easy to deploy, etc. And then because everything is on the same machine. So in microservices architecture from Web 2, we can draw the analogy that we would separate common components into its own service. So each microservice can be developed, tested, deployed, scaled up, scaled down, destroyed on demand. So similarly, we can have modular blockchains that where each functionality is separated and can achieve massive scalability by just separating and isolating each of these components. And that so developers can experiment with, for example, different virtual machines. So you don't have to be constrained with Cosmosm or EVM. So it should be based on what your use case is, whatever problem you're trying to solve, you should choose the right tool for the job. And modular blockchains will allow us to do a lot of that. And you can also, choose a wide variety of execution like EVM, Solana VM, Move VM, or even Cosmosm and ZK VM for ZK rollups. And then settlement could be a separate component that can be deployed separately, and data availability layer can be again by the providers like Celestia or EigenDA or Avail, or even Espresso has their own data availability layer. So a lot of times these data availability layer, mostly Celestia and Avail, they do the data availability sampling. So as a consumer, you don't have to, or if you want to validate the chain, you don't have to run the full node or bridge node. You can just run light node that can run on your phone to make sure that the chain is always correct. So so that's what, like, we can take each of these components, deploy them. They obviously create a bit more complexity than just deploying one big machine, as we have to coordinate many different components of the modular stack. So we think that we are moving towards a hypermodular future future that we have millions, many rollups. Could they be millions? Maybe it's possible. Maybe there will be ephemeral rollups that could exist but we think that any smart contract that wants more control, more ownership, and more flexibility on what they want to build should be able to have their own rollup so that they can customize according to the needs of their use case. And each rollup should be powered by modular components. So even with the modular stack, like the modular deployment frameworks that we have, like Sovereign Labs, Rollkit, and a lot of them are based on Cosmos SDK. So they're like the forks of Cosmos SDK, when then they have taken out like separated execution from the consensus to create a modular blockchain. We want this future However, there are still issues. So, like as you know, like modular systems can be very time consuming. They could be expensive or time consuming to learn. And there is a steep learning curve in understanding ins and outs of complex frameworks. Developers usually are tethered to a single ecosystem or framework that they would need to fully comprehend and master. So rollups enable scalability and control over functionalities. So functionalities of blockchain, but creates complexity similar to microservices architecture in Web 2. So it needs to be designed and automated using battle-tested production-grade tools like Terraform or Kubernetes-based infrastructure. So Vistara, that's what Vistara is. Vistara is a decentralized replicated cloud of modular components. We want to create a seamless transition from writing code, which is your Cosmos SDK code, to deploying the actual network very seamlessly. And if we can achieve that, that means we have to create an abstraction layer that automates a lot of the components that is needed to operationalize a modular blockchain or even an app chain. So what we want to provide at Vistara is more flexibility. So we believe that we can't force developers to follow, either OP Stack is the only production ready use case, or Cosmosm is the only correct one, correct VM implementation that you want to create your blockchain on. Instead of forcing developers, we want to provide freedom to developers, and that means like more options are given, and the more options are provided through here, where you can see that there are developers can choose between different components of the modular stack. So you can have execution layer, different execution layers like EVM, Cosmosm, Cairo, zkVM, or any others that we might add in the future. And then you can choose between sequencers that are available and different combinations. So you can choose the data availability layer, either Celestia, EigenDA, or Avail. And then if it's a fraud proof or if it's a ZK rollup, you could also choose which prover to run. So this is like the vision we want to get to, provide as much flexibility and customizability to developers so that there is the sovereignty that is provided to you from the beginning, and you have more control over what you do. So that's one of the experiences we want to provide. I'll jump into the demo in a second, but there is also another experience that we want to provide, which is we want to make deploying rollups faster than deploying smart contracts. You may have heard that many times, but we actually make it possible. We want to leverage. We want to create a way where all you have to do is focus on creating your app-specific chain code or modular blockchain state transition function, and then for a particular virtual machine, and then you push your connect your GitHub repo, push your code to GitHub. You add your build settings, or we infer those build settings based on like the repo, and then you get your rollup deployed in seconds. So that's like the high-level experience that we want to provide, so that developers can iterate over their ideas faster. Developers can try fast, fail fast, and keep iterating until there is a successful product. And really, depending on which virtual machine and execution layer you choose, it should just take under a minute or just seconds to deploy. So that's what we will see after this. But what we offer, what we provide is really around like the speed, simplicity, and scale. Like we want to be able to provide like very fast, lightning fast IBC enabled rollups, and how I'll explain how IBC enablement come into picture here. But that's where we want to also provide simplicity. So just like a drop-down list of a web interface, you should be able to choose different components of the modular stack and customize it accordingly. And the scalability aspect is there because we are deploying each of them as its own Kubernetes cluster. So these clusters can be scaled up and down, or pods can be scaled up and down depending on the needs of that particular chain. So For the demo, we want to focus on Dimension Rollapps, which is Dimension is a network of easily deployable and lightning-fast modular blockchains called Rollapps. We will use Dimension Hub for this example. And Dimension Hub, it's a decentralized proof-of-stake blockchain that is secured by Dime token. By default, you can get security, interoperability, and liquidity of the Cosmos Hub. And security is inherited through the Dimension Hub, and interoperability enables the IBC is by default supported for any rollup that is created on Dimension, and liquidity is through their Dimension Hub as well, where one of the main functionalities is the automated market maker that Dimension provides out of box. So we can try and deploy a rollup. So rollup in 40 seconds I wrote there, so we'll see how long it takes. But before that, Dimension, we also want to kind of provide a similar analogy to Web 2, where Dimension is similar to a full stack web application where users interact with Rollapps, which is the front end, and the Dimension Hub acts as a back end and acts as the coordinator of the system, and the data availability networks provide like Celestia, Avail provide a place to publicize the data. So Rollapps are just interactive applications for the Dimension network. Like any other web app, each rollup is fully customizable. You can build games, DeFi, NFT projects, and many more. And why we are focused on Dimension is that Dimension has taken the Cosmos SDK code and created its own sequencer and rollup deployment kit, and it's all based on Cosmos SDK. It implements the ABCI interface so that their EVM can be used to experiment, or you can choose between a custom virtual machine that you might want to create, or you can choose existing ones depending on what your use case is. So let's try and deploy a rollup, and we will also deploy a smart contract to it. So here's where you can see that we have this is the Dimension focused web app. We also have app.vistara.dev, which is basically just providing more of a generic experience for modular blockchain. So you can either connect your already have smart contract, you just want to deploy an app specific rollup, you can do it very easily, or you can choose between, you can customize your rollup and choose between, you want to choose Cairo VM, Fuel, EVM rollup, Cosmos, or ZKVM. Those are the ones we support today. We also support different sequencers, different data availability layers, and interoperability. So as a developer, you should focus on your smart contract code logic and everything, and you don't have to worry about anything else. So I mean, if I could just keep it as is, I should just be able to create a rollup and get it up here within a few seconds, as we will see. But to stay focused on our Dimension and IBC enabled apps, let's just try and deploy a sample rollup. We will first connect our wallet, and I don't want to connect to that. Just 1 second. We want to remove. No, I want to dApp connections. I just want to remove all of that. All right, that's fine. We'll just deploy one. I'll switch my so I'll switch this. So let's deploy a sample rollup. There are instructions on how they could be done. You don't really need them, but you can follow it. So we'll just give you the name AEZ Hackathon. Here we can create a rollup, and you can choose. Currently, we only support EVM for Dimension. You can choose either localhost for data availability or Celestia. We can choose Celestia. This is Arabica testnet. We can say we want to create a token denom as AEZ. We want 5 billion token supply, gas price, all of that. And that's all I need to do really. And if I disconnect here, it renamed AEZ hackathon. We want 5 billion. Let's deploy it. This is one of my accounts. I wanted to use MetaMask, so that's why all of this. So apologies for that earlier. So as we can see here, the rollup request has been created. All you have to do is a single click. I just added a couple of things. If I go to deployments, I should be able to see my existing deployed ones. I've stopped all of that, but as you can see, AEZ Hackathon is the one we just created. There is a chain ID that is shown here. We have EVM execution, data availability. This could be Cosmosm. There's a sequencer, which is Diamond sequencer, which is based on Cosmos SDK. We have some buttons here. But while this is being spun up, we can also just quickly check what the logs look like. Where, as you can see, it's basically funding a lot of the wallets that we have funding them through Celestia. As you can see, it literally just took 40 seconds, I'm gonna say, but I thought maybe it was like 45 seconds. So that's fine. As you can see, if we go into the details, we can download a config that basically shows some more information that you can use to add yourself into the portal of Dimension Hub, where you can just go into portal.dimension XYZ, and then you can add your rollup. And as you can see, there is IBC enablement. Here you can send messages to anywhere on the IBC ecosystem. So we're not going to focus on that right now, but let's just try and deploy a smart contract onto this chain. So this is the new network a new chain we've just created. Here's the network URL, this chain ID. We can just approve. We're going to switch to AEZ Hackathon. So we've switched. We can also get a private key. We're going to provide a faucet, but for the purpose of this demo, we'll just get a private key. We'll import that private key into our account, and we should have like 2 billion AEZ out of 5 billion token supply as a faucet that we're using. So now, as you can see, there is more config here. Dimension, we're connecting to the Fruppyland testnet. We also have Dimension API, and you have the RPC API, rollup RPC, and the EVM RPC. Now we could just go to Remix, and here I have a very simple ERC20 smart contract that basically has transfer, approve, balance, and total supply functions. Very simple. When we will just call it AZS. It's a ERC20 basic name, AZS 18 decimals. So let's try and connect to the chain that we have right here. So it just takes a second because we need to switch these networks. Okay, so right now it's connected to the chain ID that we just deployed. As you can see, this is the one we just deployed, and we will see, let's just let's create this token, AEZS, we'll deploy. It's an ERC20 contract. As you can see, there is a bunch more stuff where this is integrated into my account, and now I can just confirm. As you can see, we have, this is the contract address that was deployed. We can also check, and we can check the total supply, which is 5 million that I created. Symbol is DYMS. I actually didn't compile this, so that's why it is showing the old one. But let's go and try and add. We can refresh this, but that's not going to work. We'll just give it the token address and add that custom token. And now I have a little bit of balance there, and I can do transfer and all of that. But that's like a very high level of how it works. I can also just show that I can also get transfer. So we're just transferring some of it, very low cost, nothing really, and these happen lightning fast, as you can see, and we should be able to see the balance here. Yep, so that's about it at a very high level. Any questions in the chat that I can answer, but that's all I had really to demonstrate.
Nice. Thank you so much, Mayr. I feel like I've seen your demo a few times, but not this in depth either. So this was super helpful for myself as well to kind of see the longer process and checking like the logs and everything and really seeing how it works was super interesting to see. So thank you for taking the time to present that today. I'll check if there's any questions right now. So I actually don't see any questions in the chat at this moment.
Okay.
So all good there, but maybe you can let the viewers know who are watching maybe asynchronously in the future, the best way to get in touch with you if they have any questions or want to learn more.
Yeah, so you can reach out to me on Twitter or go to vistara.dev. You'll be able to see there's like a very basic page. You can connect to our Twitter. You can find us on Twitter. We build in public. We post a lot of different demos every week. You'll be able to see a lot of those very soon. And yeah, that's about it. And then you want to try the Dimension Rollapps, you can go to dimension.vistara.dev. Dimension is DYMENSION. And please join our Discord, follow us on Twitter, and reach out to me if you have any questions or if you want to create and deploy an app chain or a rollup.
Thanks, Mayr. And there is one question about your future roadmap in terms of what other like Cosmos-based infrastructure you're looking to support in the future.
Yeah, so we definitely want to support CosmWasm and provide like other ways to kind of be more in tone with like Cosmos Hub, so that we can allow developers to deploy REST-based applications. So right now, CosmWasm rollups work, but there is a little bit more work that is needed on that end to make sure that CosmWasm smart contracts are going to work. But really, the Cosmos SDK-based chains are going to use, and we want to provide a way that you can easily add like bridges. You can easily add, if you want to add like the lending protocol or whatever other ecosystem that we have on the Cosmos side, you should be able to add that. And if you want to also launch an app chain, you should be able to like very easily launch that through us. And then I will give you a quick demo. I know we're at time, but I wanted to share a sneak peek of what we are also working on. So there's this thing, what we are building called Vimana. Can you see my screen?
Oh, I think you have to reshare it.
No?
No.
Oh, it says it's showing, but it's okay. We're working on a CLI that allows you to very easily create and launch any node. So if you want to be a validator, if you want to run a bridge node or light node or anything else in the Cosmos ecosystem or outside, you should be able to just like, we are working on this open source project that is allowing you to, that allows you to like just download Vimana. You install Vimana and then you type in Vimana Celestia or Vimana Cosmos start. So it should start like a validated node if you want to run it for a chain or your own chain. So that what that allows you to do is to not only operate rollups, but you also operate full nodes or any other types of nodes very easily without having without needing to be an expert as a DevOps engineer. So you as long as you know how to run a command, you should be able to kind of do a lot of that and join the network, and that's how we can help decentralize a lot of these app chains further by allowing it very simply creating and launching and deploying these nodes.
Nice. That's super cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, Mayr. I don't see any other question in the chat at this time, but once again, if you do have any and you're watching this asynchronously, please do not hesitate to reach out to myself, Mayr, or the DoraHacks team, and we'll get your questions answered. Mayr, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us to present workshop number 7. It's been a great session. I think it's been very valuable to AEZ developers and for hackathon participants, as well as people that are interested in deploying either Rollapps or app chains in Cosmos in the future, but might not want to host their own infrastructure themselves, and they just want to focus on their actual application. So I think it's very valuable content for a lot of Cosmos developers. So thank you for taking the time to present it, and for everyone who is in the live audience, thank you so much for joining and spending 30 minutes with myself and Mayr and learning more about Vistara. And just a reminder to everyone, the hackathon's ongoing. So if you haven't submitted yet to the AEZ Boost Hackathon and you're interested, please don't delay. We can get you some feedback on your projects if you submit early instead of just waiting for the deadline. So please submit if you're interested. And if you have any questions about submitting or you have any ideas that you want to run by us and see if they would be good for the hackathon, please reach out. We'd love to see more participation from like very dedicated developers, and would love to provide you as many resources as possible during the hackathon. So if you have any questions or you have any interest, please let me know, and we'll help you get submitted to it. But with that being said, that concludes workshop number 7. Thank you so much, Mayr, for joining us, and thank you everyone for joining, and see you all later.
Thanks, guys. Bye.